Hello, good afternoon. I'm Noelia Ramirez, one of the members of the AM Learning Academic Department. We're here just to show you this webinar, especially for the family. So if you have any question, we can do it on the chat at the end, and we sorted out all your questions and doubts at the end, don't worry. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start this presentation. Yeah. Yeah, first of all, we wanted to thank you to be here for your attendance to this webinar. We wanted to show you how your children are going to work with this project that we call, this is Progrentis. This is what we're going to see. A little bit about us. This is AM Learning. Our company is a Spanish company that distributes this educative solution with technological basis, and we have been doing it for more than 10 years all over the Spanish territory. A little bit of contextualization. This is a work with the developing of skills that our children need to be ready for jobs for the future. Some jobs are being now old-fashioned, or they just change the way they work, like a taxi drivers, or even the airport, or even a restaurant. So what we want with this project, with Progrentis, is just to our children be ready and develop some skills to get the autonomy, the independence, and be ready for the future, for jobs that they're going to find in the future. We're going to listen to these videos that we find very interesting. What disciplines and abilities should our children learn for the future? We'll listen.
For society to work, we need all sorts of disciplines and types of skills. What skills do you think will be most important for our kids to learn for the future?
The skills you need for work, for learning, and for citizenship in the 21st century have converged. They are the same skills. You know, lots of people make different lists, but I think it comes down to just a few things. All students are going to need to learn how to think critically. And what that means from my previous research is that students need to know how to ask really good questions. In today's world, being able to ask good questions is much more important than memorizing easy answers. The second skill they need is the ability to collaborate. Increasingly, all work is done collaboratively. The third skill that's important are good communication skills, both oral and written communication, but also the ability to listen. Finally, students need to be creative problem solvers. You know, I found in my research there are two kinds of innovations. There are the innovations that bring new possibilities to life, and that's a matter of a particular time and talent converging, like a Steve Jobs. Then there are the innovations that are the result of creative problem solving. And I'm finding that creative problem solving is increasingly the coin of realm. It's the skill in highest demand. So those are the four skills that are important. But in addition, there are a few dispositions that I think are important as well. Habits of mind, habits of the heart, if you like. Being able to be empathetic, I think, is extremely important in today's world. Essential for good teamwork. Persevering, tenacity, self-discipline, of course, but also a strong moral outlook on life, a sense of what's inherently right and wrong. I think these are the qualities, these are the skills that everyone is looking for in the workplace today, and they're the same skills you need for learning and for citizenship. You know, the role of the teacher has to change. It's not just what we teach, it's not just how we teach, it's who we are in the classroom. Traditionally, teachers have worked in the context of knowledge scarcity. But today, that's not true. Knowledge is a commodity. It's free. It's on every internet-connected device. You don't need a school or a teacher to acquire knowledge. So what then is a teacher in the 21st century? I would argue a good teacher is a performance coach, coaching students to a higher performance standard. A good teacher understands the world from which students come and the world for which students have to be prepared. And so they're constantly coaching students to better standards. So I would like to see every school or every school system have what I call an innovation fund to which teams of teachers can apply to try new things. Well, what is the research and development budget for our schools? That's a joke because they don't have any. You know, when I did research on young innovators, I discovered that both parents and teachers had explicitly encouraged intrinsic motivation and empowerment through three things: play, passion, and purpose. We are born curious, creative, imaginative. That's the human DNA. The average 4-year-old asks 100 questions a day, and almost every kindergartner thinks of himself or herself as an artist. But then something happens, something we call school. Because you see, by the time children are 10 or 11 or 12, they stopped asking questions and started worrying about getting the right answers instead for the tests. And almost none of them think of themselves as artists. If we understand that the world cares most about what you can do, not merely what you know, and that we are moving away from the false credentials of seat time served in schools to the genuine competencies demanded in the 21st century, how is an employer or a college going to know what skills students have? Well, there's the one best way for them to know is to look at student work. So more and more, we're seeing a trend towards e-portfolios or digital portfolios. There's lots of platforms out there. In fact, more and more employers are saying, I want to see samples of your work. I want to see what you can do. Don't just tell me what you've done. Show me. You know, I see parents today as being often quite anxious. They see a world that is much more competitive than the world they grew up in. And so quite naturally, they want to coach their kids to be perfect little children, to get into the perfect little school, and then to get into the perfect little college, and then go to the perfect little job. Well, that doesn't work. There is no competitive advantage in going to prestigious schools anymore the way there once was. As I said, the world cares about what you can do with what you know, not where you went to school. So what can a parent do? I think one of the most important things parents can do is encourage young people to find and pursue real interests that could grow into passions. You know, we talk a lot about grit and about tenacity and perseverance, self-regulation, self-discipline. But how do you learn those things? Not because you have a tiger mom sitting on your shoulder, yelling in your ear, yeah, you go do your homework. No, one learns perseverance through pursuing real interests that become passions. So a young person who pursues a real interest, an interest that could become a passion and then a purpose, is creating their own world. It may not be the world their parents would have wanted for them. It may not be a world of fame or fortune, but it will be their world. We need to reimagine education for the innovation era. We need to reimagine education for work, learning, and citizenship, where we have incredible powers and opportunities to create and enormous challenges facing us as a species. And we have to all commit to that. This is not as if it's anyone's fault. This is not the fault of educators or our leaders. All of us need to understand the need for a fundamentally different kind of education. And we're going to have to come together and co-create it together.
Hence, to understand better the concept of intelligence, not only as a unique concept or unique definition, but also a way to have the capacity, the capability to solve problems, or as we work in Progrentis, the skills to solve the problem, as Howard Gardner has said. Yeah, if we say the current educative models, we just come back at the time when the British Empire created the model of education, the schools. We have been through different models, different example of how the education or try to educate the people. We have been through the behaviorist model where they just based in memorization or passive student. In the 90s, it was the internet turned up, and then the world informal learning, multitask learning in 2006. We have the cloud and the availability. The e-learning was the most focused in 2020, in 2020. with the pandemic, the lockdown, we were forced to a different way of learning, like the IT uses, and we were forced to the e-learning and forced to autonomy, to independence. So we're moving through the time and through the years in that functional illiteracy, so the difficulty to solve problems. So you're just moving through that, and we just educate for the everyday life. We see like different models. They have been changed through times, models of education, moving through time. In Progrentis, our 4 main learning objects are the attention span, the digital searching, the comprehension 360, and the resolution 360, the thinking skills. Yeah, we're going to go through each of one. We can see again this interesting video by Daniel Goleman.
It may surprise you to know that attention is like a muscle in the arm, and that there are exercises, mental exercises that improve attention, that strengthen the brain circuitry for attention, just like you'd go to the gym and you do some reps on a Cybex machine and get a stronger tricep. These exercises are very simple, but very effective. The social emotional learning curricula have many that are developmentally appropriate, so that you teach the same lesson in different ways as children's cognitive abilities expand with brain growth and as they go through the grades. One of the most effective is something called the stoplight. It's a poster on the wall of a classroom. It says, when you're upset, remember the stoplight. Red light, stop, calm down, think before you act. Yellow light, think of a range of different things you could do now and what the outcome would be. Green light, pick the best one and try it out. It's a highly effective method.
See, it's very explicit, this video, so we can train the attention. That's what we can do. And in Progrentis, how do we work the attention? So we got this methodology. It's attracted, varied, surprising, and we focus in 4 kinds of attention: the sustained attention, divided attention, alternating attention, and selective attention. Through all these micro tasks is the creation of the neuronal networks that produce the learning. And through this methodology, is playful and just produce the dopamine, while the students just doing the micro tasks, start to play and learn, producing the oxytocin, and they get the reward. So that reward just produces the serotonin. So while this all the process, the brain produce all these elements and works, it helps to work better with the attention span. This is one of the parts that we focus on this. Yeah, the 4 kinds. The sustained attention is the ability to maintain attention and focus on relevant stimulus with repeating presentation over extended periods. The alternating attention, so they can focus one at a time in different focus. Selective, it just stimuli ignorant, irrelevant stimuli, just focus on one. Divided attention then allows us to process different information sources and successfully carry out multiple tasks at a time. Then we go to the second learning objective, is the digital citizenship, where, well, when you have to search for something and want to solve a problem, what do? Straight away, we go to the internet, on Google, and just type, for example, the COVID-19, and about how many results we have. Massive, a huge number of results we can get. So how do we filter such information, and how to discern what sources should I choose, or which sources are false, which one are good or bad? Just not copying, it's just not depending copy and paste. We need to discern and choose which information we get from the website, from the internet, they are good or bad. They could be false, wrong, or good. So we work on digital skills to find and filter information through the navigators. Okay. Then with the third learning objective, the comprehension 360, we just can get a lot of data, but the data is just simple this, just numbers or words, etc., etc. So we get in this pyramid of knowledge, we can get through different steps. And then from the data, we get some information. We read and get this information, assimilate the information. Once we get this step, the information we need to assimilate it, and this information becomes to knowledge. That knowledge in our brain, we get more and more knowledge. And then this is the fundamental skills that once we create knowledge become to wisdom. So from the basic thing, it's just a pyramid and create that wisdom. With the traditional schools, we follow these different skills, steps, like in stairs, and our children, the students, started to decode in the process, no? With the phonemes, are graphem, put it together, make words, then the words make sentences, and they get in more fluency. They become more fluently in the language in that process of reading, and then we got more step further and get the understanding. When they assimilate it and become more fluently, they assimilate in the process, understand what they're reading, what they're learning. And then one more step, the further step is the reading load. So when we get more understanding, they can read more and more to just become more conscious, more awareness, what they get around, what the comprehension and what they're reading. So in this understanding as a process, we get the first step, the same way that we said the letters, the steps. First, the basic stage between 4 and 5 years old, we start with the literacy, visual discrimination, visual motor skills, pattern and sequences. Then, as long as they becoming older, between 6 to 8 years old, the student, your children, they learn to read. So they can get the literal understanding, inferential understanding, get their main idea of a text and sequences, and get more deductions. So they just in this comprehension process, we're just in the intermediate one. Then we advance a little bit more. A step between 9 and 18 years old, we learn by reading. So we just change this step and we go further, and then can develop the critical understanding, the analysis and reasoning, synthesis, and problem resolution as well. So different steps through this understanding as a process. The different levels, as we have been saying. The first level, it will be the literal understanding. What the understanding is what the text just says, literally what is explicit in the text, or who, where, when. So the main thing that they're going to use is the memory. They just can't remember what you just read. Then we pass to the second step, is the inferential understanding. Here, we're going to focus on what to read between lines. They need to deduce and guess and inference the information what they get to just go in second step of the comprehension. So what would happen if, what happened before, what can happen later. And then the further step, the third one, is the critical understanding. Okay, it involves evaluating, assessing, providing providing their own opinions about the text and their knowledge about it. For example, they can answer questions about what do you think, what is your opinion, what would you rate, etc., etc. What you just can divide the process in these 3 main levels. Then with the thinking skills, as we said, comparing this level before, they're going to work in different skills. For example, in the first level, literal level, they can work with verbs like name, match, identify, discriminate, perceive, observe. In the second level, the inferential level, they can develop skills like estimate, some problems, interpret, categorize, infer, okay? And then the third level, the critical level, it's more difficult one, they come to develop this skill and work on verbs like argue, debate, evaluate, judge, criticize, okay? So can you see the process from the easy one to the hardest one? Yes, it just involves reasoning, these thinking skills that involve the reasoning, analysis, logic, and synthesis. For the comprehension 360 is when the student understands then allow them to interpret not only a text, but also a conversation, a fact, an explanation, anything. Then argue, they are able to give reasons for a specific fact, either when they read, listen, write, in order to finally suggest innovative solution to non-structured problems from different contexts. This is a global thing. That's why we call comprehension 360, like a global concept. This is the 4 learnings, as we said, the 4 learning objective. Then how do we do it? How does Progrentis do it? Through this methodology, we do it in sessions divided in time. There are 20 units, and then the students need to do it little by little, one by one, through micro tasks with immediate feedback. They're going to do these activities. If they do it wrong, the screen is going to be in red. If they're doing right, the screen is going to be in green, but we don't get stuck if we get it wrong. We just always progress, pass it to the next one, and this reduce the levels of anxiety of our children, so they can allow to carry on to the next activity, to the next one, and they're going to get that immediate feedback that they say, as I say, is it right or wrong, and carries on. Then we just provide individual and group challenges and getting an achievement by competencies assessment. The solution, all the products that our children, your children are going to work through. We presented all of them. We have pre, from children from 5 and 6 years old. In this step, divided in 2 levels, pre-1 and pre-2. In this level, they're going to work on metalinguistics and math skill. Is this step pre-reading? So they're not able to read yet, but they're going to work on this in these phases, like the metalinguistic and math skill. Then for children between 7 and 9 years old, we have ABC, and it is divided in 3 levels, ABC 1, ABC 2, and ABC 3. In this system, in this part of the learning processes, they're going to focus on reading and comprehension foundation, and started to use the logical thinking. Then we move into the mentor. Mentor product is for children between 10 and 12 years old, the last step for the primary schools. And then the focus on attention, the main thing that we're going to work on is analysis and logical reasoning. And then they're going to just create and develop a strategy for the problems resolution. Then we move to secondary when we have Elite. Is as well divided in 3 levels, Elite 1, Elite 2, and Elite 3, and is for children, for young people between 13 and 15 years old. And in this part, they're going to discern and differentiate the fake news that we can find in the internet, and they're going to use efficiently the information that we get from the internet all around, or they just surrounded by. And then they're going to start to get strategies for the resolution of non-structured problems. And then we move to the last step and the last product, and we call it Pro. It's divided as well in 2 new products, Pro 1 and Pro 2, for kids or for young people between 16 and 18 years old. And here, they're going to learn the personalization and self-regulation encouragement. Okay. We're going to see one by one. This is Pre 1 and Pre 2, as I said before. They're going to see this one in the screen, the interface, okay? All the programs have 2 levels, as I say. They're going to develop this metalinguistic skill, okay? They got a lot of variety of stimulation activity that support, as I say, the pre-reading process. This is ABC. This is the screen they're going to have this year with an astronaut. They're going to get some points to get the objects and pass through the different levels and moving around to different planets, okay? And this step, this product is designed for children who have already the maturity and skill needed to deal with the reading and writing process, and then with the reading and comprehension basic. Okay, so we're going to develop this skill with the formation track and analysis skills. A mentor is the moment when the student finishes learning to read, understand, learn by reading, as we mentioned before in one of the different steps of the understanding process, okay? So this is, as I say, we're going to live in more rational thinking skills, okay? And elite, we got it here with this information on what in the fake news and collaborative work, digital citizenship. As I said before, it's the same one. Pro as well. They're going to go with potential passages. This is the interface they're going to see. They got the avatar, the points. They're going to work through the ODS from the Nations United and this way of the Bloom taxonomy. Okay, and the Pro 2, they're going to work with the training and the competencies passages. Then we're going to, in total, they're going to work, they're going to develop 4 reading and digital skills. We need to add 56 related to math and computer language skill, plus the 4 attention span skills in that block of the attention span that we mentioned before. Then the support for you, for the families. Well, we have like our department with the pedagogical advisory is always behind the school and accompany them, going with the children, sorted out every doubt that they can help and they can need. And for you, just it's available this app from mobile phones that you can download it. It's a IPD Pro. So you need to just put your username and password from your children, and then just register with different details that you need, maybe the emails, and the information that you can get is this IPD index. It's just related with the fluency, the vocabulary that your children are developing. And then you can get, when it's the last time that your children were working, the exercise, the activity that they did, and the one they passed, they did right, and a percentage of the performance. And then with the evaluations as well, the same, how many they did, which one are they passed, they were good, and that percentage of performance. It's easy for you to download it, and so you can control a little bit the basic and the main information that you need to get about your children. See? And once more, I just wanted to thank you to be here and listen for just this webinar that we just especially for you. If you have any doubt, write it in the chat and we will have to sort it out. Thanks one more.